Welcome back guys to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial, and in this video we are going to create levels and experience system. So let's begin. The first thing what we should probably do is go to our third-person character, and we should add quite a few variables to our characters. So we will need a variable for our level. We will also need a variable for our experience and probably for our stat points. And if you have any more ideas that you want, I will make these all integers by the way, but you can make these floats as well. If you have any more ideas, you can go ahead and add more variables. And actually one more would be max speed, even though we are setting speed in a different place actually, but we should create one so that when we have a save game, load game system, so that we can load our speed as well. Also, as of right now, we have a single custom event for, let's say, like restore health, hunger, thirst, and if we want to continue like this, then we also need a custom event for levels, experience, stat points, and max speed. But we are going to change this up a little bit so that all of this would be one single function. So I will add a custom event which I'm gonna call server add stats, and this is ran on server, and this needs two variables, and the first one is going to be the amount and the other one is going to be the type. The amount is going to be a float and the type is going to be a string. Then we probably need a new function which I'm gonna call add stats. And this one also needs to have the same variables. So this is the amount and this is the type and the float. And now in the event graph, we can now add this event, connect the pins, and there we go. So this is going to be all that we are going to need for this. So now let's redo this, these events. So in our add stats now, we are going to do a switch on string from this type variable, and we are going to add quite a lot of elements. So the first one is going to be the experience, then we are going to have our health, max health, and all the other ones. So these are going to be my options, what we can add. And the next thing what I want to do is select these restore events functions, and I want to copy the content of this in our add stats. And so basically from the health it goes over here, and I will do some small readjusting. So now I have successfully copied all the content from these restore events to this one over here, and now we are missing this pin over here, which is the amount. So from this amount we can connect this simply right here, do a reroute and reconnect all of the amounts. There we go. And the next thing what we could do is add the max values. So I will make this a little bit bigger, and here we have our max health. So let's find our max health. Let's set this. There we go. Setting max health. We are setting max health by plussing, and we are adding the value, the amount, to our max current health, like so. And yeah, that's actually all we gotta do here. So I've done the same thing for the hunger, thirst, and stamina. Now these are all set up. And now we should create an event for our XP. So I will set the XP, and I will do plus integer, and we are going to connect our amount, which is a float, and this gets changed into an integer, and we are adding XP to the amount to our current XP, and it does look something like this. And from here we should check if our XP is bigger or equal to some kind of an amount. I will do an if branch check over here, and you can set up whatever types of XP gaps you want for level ups, but I will do this super simple as of right now. What I will do is select my level, and I will do multiply integer times integer, and I will do, let's say, like I need 50 experience for one level. So if I get 50 XP, then I'm gonna level up. If I get 100 XP, then I'm gonna level up again. So yeah, this is set up, and if this is true, if the XP is bigger than this required value, then we can set our level by doing again integer plus integer, and we are going to connect our level, and we're going to do level plus 1 like so. And also don't forget to replicate your newly created variables. This is important, otherwise we might have issues along the way. So that is set up, and now for the max speed and the stat points, everything works kind of the same, but what I want to do is select and set the level to 1 and set the max speed to 600 like it is by default. So now let's set up the last stats. So max speed is the same thing, so it's float plus float. Since the speed variable is a float by default, I'm using a float, so amount plus the current speed like so. And that's also all that we gotta do over here, and same thing goes for our stat points. We're just simply actually, well, we can do this from over here, or we can just simply add a stat point once we level up. So we could just simply set this over here, or you can set that in the bottom part as well. You can do this over here, and you could do this over here as well if you have any other like custom places where you want to add stat points, but for me I don't wanna, so this is good enough for me. So this event is all set up, and what we can do now is change all of our restore events that we have to the newly add stats. So in our UI item info, we have a location. Here it is. So we have this server, restore health, restore hunger, thirst, stamina, and I'm just going to change these. Server add stats. The amount and the type was health. So this is set up, nice. And now we can create our UI, and I'm not gonna explain a lot about it because I have spoken about UIs before briefly, but I'm not doing anything special over here. So we have our UI character, and I will make some designs. So this is how my UI will look like. These basically are just simple text fields, nothing to this. These are also text fields, but these all are variables, and I've called them like health field, stat point field, XP field, and these basically are all called fields. And here we have 7 buttons. 3 of them are invisible, and 5 of them, well, these have opacity 0. These buttons right here are very important. We need these to add stats, and one thing that I will do is I will make these all hidden. So now that all of this is set up, we can go to our graph and we can start bringing in some things. So on event construct, we need to set our values first. So we should cast to third person character using the owning player pawn, get owning player pawn as a reference, so that we would get this widget owner. And then from over here, we need to set all of those fields. So let's drag in our variables, XP, health, hunger, level, speed, stamina, stats, and of course thirst as well. And now what we need to do is we need to get all of these values. So from our third person character, we need to get level, So now I've gotten all of my necessary variables, and now we can start setting these values. So level, we are going to set text like this, and we need quite a few of these nodes, so I will just simply copy these. So now this part is all set up. Now what we should do is connect these all in line like so. And once we have that done, we can then connect these values right here to the text fields. So now all of this has been set up. So now if we would set up some values, so let's set level 1, XP, stat points, max speed. And now let's create another event for our UI. So I'm gonna duplicate the inventory one, and I'm gonna call this create character UI. And here we can select our character UI, and we can actually delete this inventory open and just leave this is UI open. Save this, and now in our event graph we can look for our inventory function. We can simply copy these nodes, and we can do the event C keyboard, and we can paste this now in, and we can check is UI open. And if UI is open, then we are destroying it. If it's not, then we can create this one. And now if we press play, and let's press C, you can see that our stats are appearing, and we can see all the data that we have. Which means that now we should probably set up the XP gaining possibilities. So I will select my world actors, the tree and the rock, and so inside of here I would like to add experience once we are sure that we have damaged the actor. So that would be somewhere over here, I guess, probably. So in order to do that, we need to pass through the player variable, because as of right now we don't really pass this through. So we should select our UIs, not UIs, but our blueprint interfaces, which are involved in this whole thing, and one of them is hit an actor. So we need to add a player, which is a actor, and we need the same thing for our interact. So let's add a player, which is an actor. And now once this is done, we should open up our equipment items. So here's one of them, and here is the other one. And what we should do is simply connect this player to the player, and also this player to the player as well, for both of our equipables. So now we can close these things off. And now in our world actors, let's see. So here we are, this is the first interaction, and we can simply just connect this right here from our third person character cast to the player. We should do the same thing for both of our actors, like this. And now let's see. Now we need to pass through our player over here as well, like so, on the top part, like so. We are passing through the player, and now we are receiving the player here down in this take damage. So we need to do a little bit of a adjusting. So I will disconnect the execution only for now. I will move this. I will move this over here, connect this like so, to check if the health is below 0 after we are adding the XP. So now we can connect this here, delete this get character, and use the reference from our interface. And here we could do server add stats. Probably should move this back even more, like so. Connect this like here. The type will be our experience, and this is the amount that we want to add, and this is going to be 10 in my case. And for our oak, we are doing exactly the same thing. So our oak is also set up. So now if we would save this, so now if we test this whole thing out, you can see that if we eat a carrot, we restore our health. If we drink water, we restore our thirst. And if we chop this stone, you can see that 10 XP, 20 XP, 30 XP, and we have leveled up. One more thing that I forgot to do though is we should probably set our XP back to 0 once we level up. So that is super simple. In this event add stats where we are leveling up, if this is true, then we definitely need to set our XP back to 0, like so. And that's pretty much all that we gotta do. As simple as that. So that thing is working as well. And now we should probably work on our adding stats. So in our UI character, we have all of these buttons that do something. So we need on-click events for every single one of them. So here are the 5 events that we need. We only will set 5 variables as of right now: health, hunger, thirst, stamina, and speed. All of these will set up on their own. And yeah, now so from this on click, we should probably do the casts, and then we should add the stats. So what I will do is add a new variable, and this is going to be the, let's call this type. This needs to be a string, and on this we are going to set our types. So let's paste a couple of these in. So the first one is our max health, since we want to set the max health. And then of course we want our max hunger, max thirst, max stamina, and the max speed. So this is all set up, and now we should add a custom event which is going to add stats. And from here we should cast to third person character using the get owning player pawn as a reference, and we need to server add stats. And now what we can also do is actually set the amount. So let's add another variable which is going to be the amount, which needs to be a float type, and let's set this over here. Because let's say that I want my max health to be added by 10. Same goes for the other needs system things. But let's say for the speed, I want it to do like, let's say 50. So this is a good way to do this. So now we can just simply connect the type right here and the amount right here. And yeah, that's all that we gotta do. And the last thing is, from all of these, we need to do our add stats event, since we have set up all the variables already, and we can just run this right here. So now we can compile and save this. And also now on the event construct, now we need to, so this will work if we are allowing to add stats. But what we also should do is check some things. So let's do an if branch on our end of our event construct. Once we have set all the amounts, we need to check if our stat points, so here is our stat points, if our stat points are bigger than 0, if there is actually something. And if there actually is something, then we need to show our buttons. So I will get our buttons. And from these buttons we should set visibility, and we should set this to true if we have a stat point. And also again, I will copy a bunch of these for every single one of our usable buttons. So now this is also set up. And one more thing that we should probably do is, once we have launched this, we should probably do our clear HUD once we've done this. And once we have cleared the HUD, we should probably create character UI. There we go. So we are recreating the character UI. And one last thing that again I am forgetting things. Once we have run this add stats, we should probably remove the stat point. So let me see. Probably what we could do is simply, let's set our stat. So stat points, and let's do like, let's say minus. So let's do stat points -1 once we have set up the stats, and we probably should do this from quite a few locations. So our max health, max hunger, max thirst, max stamina, and our max speed. And this should work pretty good. So now I'm level 4, I've tested this whole thing out, we have 3 stat points, and let's now check some things out. If we would add health, technically this bar should go down, so let's add some health. And yes, that's exactly what's happening. Let's try the hunger limit, exactly, thirst. And well, we ran out of our variables, but the stat system is working. As of right now, the only issue is that the max speed only just simply changes the value and nothing really happens. We don't walk faster, but we are going to work on this in the following videos when we create our sprinting system, because this also needs to be replicated properly. Otherwise, the clients will not be able to sprint if we do not replicate this properly. And then we are also going to set up the system so that our character would also gain some speed once we add the stat points. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video.